Now, back in 2006, this was unearthed this past week as well, that then Senator Joe Biden, back in 2006, stated, and this is, again, sound element 8, not 7, but sound element 8, Joe Biden said that it doesn't matter if it's metadata, if it's phone records and not the data itself. This is something that potentially violates the Fourth Amendment, the right to privacy unless there is a warrant. And he said that it's something that Congress should investigate. This is something that people are using to point out that the administration may be hypocritical here. Here's how Biden put it.
If it's true that 200 million Americans' phone calls were monitored in terms of not listening to what they said,
right,
but to whom they spoke and who spoke to them, I don't know. That's the Congress should investigate this.
Moving on to the security component of this debate, General Keith Alexander, who's in charge of the National Security Agency, testified before Congress about just how many terrorist plots this kind of monitoring, this kind of massive surveillance on the massive data collection, metadata collection in terms of phone records, in terms of internet as well, how many terrorist plots it foiled. He did say, he didn't have an exact number, but he did say it foiled dozens of plots. Again, this is sound element 9.
Of terrorist events that these have helped prevent.
Got cut off a little bit there, but initially he said dozens of terrorist events. And specifically, the event that he's pointing to, and many other elected officials are pointing to, of course he's not elected, but many elected officials are pointing to, is the foiling of a plot in 2009 by Najibullah Zazi, an Afghan-American cab driver from Aurora, Colorado, who was planning to bomb the New York City subway system. And in fact, President Obama even mentioned that in the Charlie Rose interview. Here's what Obama said.
The one thing people should understand about all these programs, though, is they have disrupted plots, not just here in the United States, but overseas as well. You know, you've got a guy like Najibullah Zazi.
And of course, as many analysts have pointed out, including folks at the Associated Press, Matt Apuzzo, is that, in fact, the Zazi plot, the United States government was already monitoring him, had already, in fact, even had him in detention at some point, had tried to, and so they would have had the authority to issue a warrant on him without this kind of legal authority. This was not the kind of legal authority that they needed to even tap his phone so much, because he was already connected to someone who had been detained. He'd already engaged in suspicious activity. That this was not something that this was not legal authority that they needed. This kind of metadata sweeping powers of surveillance